Hello, everyone. In this short video, I would like to share with you some information about leader-member exchange theory of leadership, or LMX. We'll provide you with a brief description of the theory. We're going to look at the early and later studies. We're going to look at the relationship between leadership development and LMX, and then we're going to look how it works, and then what are some of the lessons that we could apply at the individual organizational level. Leader-member exchange theory was first proposed in 1970s by a group of researchers, among whom were D'Arsenault, Grain, and colleagues. This was among the first theories of leadership that conceptualized leadership from the process or relationship perspective. If prior leadership research were leader-centric. In other words, they focused on the leader from the traits perspective, skills perspective, behavioral perspective. Other theories focus from the situational perspective. This was among the first to focus on the relationships between leaders and followers. And thus, this theory belongs to the relational groups of leadership theories or approaches, along with the authentic, servant, and transformational leadership approaches. This theory makes the dyadic relationship between leaders and followers at the focal point of leadership process. The early studies were very descriptive. As researchers were studying the behaviors of leaders and organization, they found that leaders and followers form different types of relationship. And if in the previous studies of leadership prior to this theory's development, if the focus was on the leader's relationship with the entire group, this theory focused at creating individual linkages or relationship between a leader and different followers. In other words, they focus on individual vertical dyads. As researchers were examining these dyads, they found that in organizational settings or in social settings, they found there are two general types of linkages or relationships that were arising. There were relationships based on expanded or negotiated role responsibilities, and those relationships were called the in-group. And then there were relationships based on the formal employment contract. They called those out-group. In the in-group, the relationships between leaders and followers were marked by mutual trust, respect, liking, and reciprocal influence. In these situations, followers received more information, they had more influence, they received more confidence from the leader, and more concern than the employees in other group and the out group. Also, followers tended to be more dependable, they were highly involved and communicative than the members in the out group. In the out group, again, the relationships were based on the traditional employment contract. The relationships were marked by formal communication based on job descriptions, and the compatibility between leader and follower were not very high. And usually people in this group, they will come to the employment setting, do their work, and then go home. This does not mean that they were not doing a good job. They're just, the relationships were different. So this is the descriptive group of theories. In later studies, researchers tried to find out whether there was a difference in organizational outcomes when leaders and followers engage in different types of relationships. For example, were the outcomes different for the in-groups compared to the out-groups? And this study is focused on the quality of leader-member exchanges, and it resulted in different types of outcome for the leaders, followers, groups, and organizations in general. And here are some of the outcomes that researchers have found. In other words, when there was a high quality and the relationship between leaders and followers. There were all kinds of positive outcomes. For example, there was higher task performance, there was lower employee turnover. In other words, employees tended to stay longer with their units. There was higher organizational commitment, greater engagement and involvement in organizational citizenship behavior. There were better job attitudes, more positive performance evaluation by leaders. There were higher frequency of promotions, more desirable work assignments, and there was more attention and support from the leaders toward followers. So as you can see, there are all kinds of positive outcomes that could result if there are high quality relationships between leaders and followers. So if we know that there are all of these positive outcomes, then how do we then create this high quality exchanges? So that's where the prescriptive approach to leadership comes into place. And this approach basically emphasizes that a leader should attempt to develop high quality relationship with all followers rather than with a small group. And Graham and Well-being identified 3 phases of leadership development in order to develop high quality relationship or exchanges. And in this slide right here, I have the 3 phases that leadership development where the high quality exchanges progress through 3 stages. In the first stage, it's called the stranger. The second one, it's acquaintance. And the third one, it's mature partnership. That's where we have high quality exchanges. As we can see right here in each of them, the roles, influences, exchanges, and interests change. For example, in the stranger phase, or the first phase or stage, the relationship between leaders and followers is very scripted. In other words, it's based on formal employment contract. All kinds of exchanges are based on job descriptions. Influences tend to be in one way. The leader mostly influences from the leader towards follower. The exchanges are very low, and the interest in self. The employee wants to make sure that they keep their jobs, and the leader wants to make sure that they are working towards achieving organizational goals. Towards the end of this phase, there could be mutual activities or initiatives where the leader might encourage followers to engage in some behavior that goes beyond the employment contract, or in another situation, the follower might ask to become involved in some extra role behavior. As those kind of exchanges are becoming positive, the exchanges are moving into the second phase, the acquaintance phase. In this situation, the roles are tested. So in other words, instead of focusing on the behaviors based on the employment contract, the leader might ask the follower to engage in more behaviors that go beyond the enrolled behavior. And also the follower might see opportunities for training and development or volunteering or a task force, and they may ask for opportunities to engage in those extra role behavior. So that's what we call the roles are tested. The influences are mixed. Again, it can come, these initiatives from the leader or from the follower, and then the exchanges are media quality, so they are better rather than in low quality in the first phase. And then the interest, it's on self, but also they are moving into emphasis on the outcome for the entire group. As the relationship between leaders and followers in this stage are progressing and improving, they're moving in the third phase, and that's the partnership phase. We will call it the high quality relationship phase, where roles are negotiated. So there is a lot of negotiation between leaders and followers. Influence is very reciprocal, and then exchanges again of high quality, and the interests are moving from self totally to the group. So that's the relationship between leader-member exchange and leadership development. So how does it work? Leadership-member exchange works in two ways. It describes and prescribes leadership, but the center is the dyadic, the center of this central focus on this theory is the dyadic relationship. From a descriptive perspective, it suggests that leaders should be aware that in social situations, in many social situations, there is potential of involvement of two different types of groups, in groups and out groups. And because of that, then there are significant consequences of behavior and organizational outcomes. So from a prescriptive perspective, the theory suggests that leaders should develop high quality relationship with others, or should attempt to develop high quality relationship with our followers, because we know that in some situations, some followers would self-select themselves from engaging in high quality relationships. They would say, I came to work, just tell me what to do, and I did my work and I'm done. So it's on the leader to make the first step in order to offer the opportunities for followers to improve the relationship. So leaders must be aware that perception play a key role in developing these relationships. So similarly to equity theory of motivation, perception, as some of you who studied organizational behavior or psychology, we know that perception impacts our behavior, and we have to be aware of that to ensure that we create a high degree of transparency, openness, and in the end, to develop trust between followers and leaders. So again, leaders must offer each follower the opportunity for new roles and responsibilities, and they should focus not on differences, but on ways to build trust and respect with all followers that we know could result in all kinds of positive outcomes. So how do we apply it? This, from a prescriptive perspective, the lessons from this theory could be applied at all levels of management organizational hierarchy. It could be applied in the work of a chairman of the board with other members of the board of directors. It could be applied in top management teams between the CEO and the other members of top management teams. It could be applied the lower level of the organization, the supervisor level, and the relationship between the supervisors and the employees and different units. It could be applied in various sectors, from education to business to nonprofit organization, faith-based institution, and all kinds of government sending as well. The key here is that the managers or the leaders should be the ones to make the first step, to give the opportunity to every single individual in their unit to engage in developing high quality relationship. Again, there might be some individuals who self-select themselves, and that's okay, but giving the opportunity to everybody is the most important aspect of this theory. Thank you very much. So if you have any questions, please, or comments, please write them below.